Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ajua. So there are 6 fragrances in this particular video that were hyped up in the past. Some of them as far back as like 6-7 years ago, and some of them in very recent times. They were super popular. If you had a YouTube channel and you didn't have some of these particular fragrances, did you even have a fragrance channel? That was how popular some of these fragrances were. The influencers really spoke about them highly. It was one of those fragrances, or some of these were among those fragrances you needed to have as a fragrance content creator. But before I start this video, I want to quickly speak about something. I've told myself I'm not going to address anything, especially when it concerns comments that people throw at me regarding how I go about my videos. But this particular comment, I let me just read it to you and then we can discuss. So it says, "Dear Ajua, if you think these are really such good perfumes, why don't you have a whole bottle of them? As a fragrance reviewer, there are only so much you can talk about. There's always going to be several other releases like on daily basis, especially these Middle Eastern fragrances. And there's no way I can keep up with buying bottles upon bottles. So I've decided to use a lot of decants lately. And I think I've featured some of these decants in my top, list, the best of this, the best of that. And this particular person is asking, why am I not getting full-size bottles and I'm recommending these decants if they are that good? I think for me, it's a matter of finances. First of all, it doesn't make any sense getting full-size bottles when you are reviewing them and sometimes you hardly or barely touch these fragrances after the review. They could be among your best, fragrances, but because you are constantly testing fragrances, you are also buying other fragrances. You wouldn't even reach out for some of your best fragrances. When I talk about my top 10 this, my top 10 that, trust me, I'm not reaching for even those top 10 of those, fragrances on regular basis. Just because I'm testing several other fragrances, I wear my fragrances, but it's hard to keep up with full-size bottles. And as a fragrance reviewer, for me personally, it doesn't really make sense getting bottles of every single thing. There's also the issue of storage, the space. It gets overwhelming as to how to save them or store them. So there are so many reasons why I would, rather go that, way. People find bottles wasteful. A lot of people will tell you, what, get the cans and just review them, because people feel like sometimes you get the full-size bottles and you barely touch them, you barely do much with them after speaking about them. Sometimes you have to sell them off because you need to make room, and you need to make room for other newer fragrances that are coming in. So that is the reason why, although I will recommend something and say it is the best of best, or recommend it as a very good fragrance, I will still not get a full-size bottle. Sometimes my curiosity is satisfied, getting the decants, especially when they are like 10 ml or 15 ml decants. I think they are good enough, for me to wear them and enjoy it. If I really feel like I want to add another bottle or a bottle to my collection, I do. Occasionally, I go back to, getting full-size bottles of fragrances I originally had decants of. And that is not to say the ones I am recommending are not good. So I think that should answer your question, But if you have anything to add to it, I'm open to, thinking about some of these comments. So that is going to be it. So let me get to the business of the day today. These very hyped up fragrances that you needed to get, and one of such was or is Rare Tiffany by Afnan. So this is going to be your heavy floral fragrance. It has jasmine, it has rose, it has ylang ylang, it has some ginger and some pink pepper. It has like a lot of florals, yellow florals and a bit of spice. This gives me a very classic vibe. It's non-playful. It is nothing playful in my opinion. It doesn't come across as your playful, floral, playful, fruity ones. It's very polished, quite serious, in some way, and a little soapy to me. It comes across as your soapy, clean, somehow classic vibe, in my opinion. Scent-wise, do I like this? I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about this fragrance. I think I like it, but I don't think it is a love for me. I think I have other classic sort of fragrances that I enjoy a lot more. It reminds me of Dolce and Gabbana's Velvet Desire that I adore. I love that fragrance. It sort of gives me a similar vibe. But Red Tiffany, honestly, maybe I would say I like it like 5 out of 10. It's not a 10 over 10 for me. Do I feel it was overhyped? Yeah, I think it was very overhyped. Yes, I think it was very overhyped in a way. Do I think it is beautiful? It is, but I also don't think it is going to be for everybody. It's not your very mass appealing fragrance. It's not going to be your go-to fun girly. If you want to be romantic and sexy, I don't think you're going to reach out for Red Tiffany or no. It's just a classic vibe, a very quite serious one. I like it, but I feel it was quite overhyped. And that is going to be my take. I don't know how you feel about it, but that is going to be my take on Red Tiffany. I think it was quite overhyped in my opinion. So let's move on to Forbidden Sugar. It was described as this very creamy, fluffy, marshmallow, coconut, vanilla. They made it seem very exotic. A lot of people made Forbidden Sugar seem very exotic. It felt like this very exotic marshmallow creamy thing that you needed to have. I didn't get it until now. What was this about? I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of this, fragrance at all. Not only do I not get that creamy, fluffy marshmallow it was advertised and, marketed as, I don't get it. I think it is inspired by Frank Bouclé's something sugar, which I'm not familiar with. But this particular one, it's creamy, it is coconutty, a little vanillic, but it's not as how it was made to be. I was expecting a lot from this, something heavy, marshmallow, creamy, coconut. I get a coconut. I think the most dominant note that stands out to me is the coconut, a slight marshmallow vibe, a bit suntan lotion vibes to me, and it reminds me of Alien Goddess. It really reminds me of Alien Goddess. I have Alien Goddess, so I was able to compare. As soon as I smelled it, I was like, oh, it reminds me of something, and I was able to put them together. Alien Goddess, but I prefer Alien Goddess a lot more. That one is a lot more wearable to me. There's something about this that I don't like. I don't know. It's not the most mass appealing, scent to me. I don't get that fluffy marshmallow deliciousness. I don't get it. I don't get anything vanillic and super sultry and creamy and gourmand. I really do not get it. So for me, I think Forbidden Sugar was quite overhyped. I forgot to say something. I think one of the reasons why I don't like I'm not really a fan of the Red Tiffany is the fact that I don't like the dry down. The dry down, there's something about it which feels like flat and boring, and that is one of the reasons why I don't like it. But when it comes to this, I don't like the beginning, the middle, the dry down. I just don't enjoy it. So that is going to be my take on Forbidden Sugar. So one of the most recent ones that has received a lot of hype is going to be Creme of Cloud from Fragrance World, and it's known to be this coconut, vanilla, gourmand, super gourmand. Yes, I know it. I would say it is gourmand. First of all, it's been compared to Eclair, but I don't see the similarity between this one and Eclair. There's nothing that, binds them. And they don't smell identical to me in any way. I would personally describe this fragrance as a sweet coconut vanilla scent with a sprinkle of burnt sugar. It gives me that same burnt sugar you get from a normal creme brulee. I get that torch sugar or that burnt sugar normally that you get on creme brulee. I get it. And it's a very gourmand scent. However, I don't think it merits the name Creme of Clouds. I don't find it as creamy. Is it fluffy and light and airy? Yes, I believe so. It's very light and airy and fluffy, but it's not a very creamy scent to me. I don't get anything like a very heavy, creamy, it doesn't give me that. It's more about that, caramelized coconut, the burnt sugar, the vanilla, but nothing like a very heavy creamy scent to me. Nonetheless, a very beautiful scent. I don't find it the most wearable. Honestly, I have not wore, like, I've worn this one on its own, but I feel it's much better when I layer it with something, because it's too literal for me. It's too, coconutty, gourmand for me. It is too literal for me. So I enjoy it, but I think I prefer it boxed with something. I normally would wear it with Eclair from Latafa, or Egba from Rasasi, or something a little vanillic, to give it more of a dimension, because it's just a one-dimensional gourmand scent and it's too literal foodie for me. So I enjoy it, but I prefer to layer it with something. On its own, it's very beautiful. I think it deserves the hype. I think it is a very beautiful scent. It deserves the hype. There's nothing, there's very little to hate about this. It is a literal gourmand that can be annoying to a lot of people, but to me, I think it's a very beautiful scent. I was anticipating something a lot more creamy, but it's much more lighter and airy. I don't get a lot of the creamy fluffiness I was looking for, because it says Creme of Cloud. But I think overall, it's a very beautiful scent, but it's also a literal gourmand that I enjoy it with other scents. I enjoy it a lot more with other scents, but on its own, it's too literal for me, and that is going to be my take on Creme of Cloud. I think it is worth the hype. I think so. Yeah. Terek by Latafa is a very hyped up fragrance. I like this particular fragrance, but it's never been a love for me. I think I've had several people who have commented that they are not a fan of Terek. I wouldn't say I'm not a fan of Terek, but it's never been my number one Latafa. I know there are several people who have gone through bottles of Terek. I appreciate that. I understand that. I respect that. But Terek to me, I think, was way overhyped. First of all, it's a similar DNA with other things that were on the market at the time of release. It didn't seem like anything super new, It didn't seem like anything that was not done. I appreciated Terek the most the day I got Care Confection by Paris Corner. The day I got it, and smelled it and got, was getting used to it, I was like, okay, I like, Care Confection. It reminds me of Terek. And that is how come I'm able to enjoy this one a lot more, just because I have the Care Confection now, and I feel like it reminds me of each other. And I guess for like, okay, if I love Care Confection, why don't I, have that same energy towards this one? So I'm sort of breaking that sort of barrier I have against me, or between me and Terek, just because I have Care Confection, and I appreciate that a lot more, So I would say Terek was quite overhyped. Beautiful fragrance, but I think it was nothing new, It didn't give me anything new. That is just my opinion. It didn't give me anything super new, like what a lot of us were expecting. And for that matter, I respectfully say Terek was overhyped. Tobacco 01 from Swiss Arabia. So this reminds me of Side Effects by Initio. I have a small vial of Side Effects, as well as After Effects from FA Paris. I used to have that, which I didn't enjoy and have since decluttered. However, when I smelled Tobacco 01 from Swiss Arabia, I really, really like this one. Although it reminds me of After Effects and the original one, there's something about this particular one that smells a lot like the original one, Side Effects, than FA Paris's version. I don't think it was a good representation. I like it. It smells identical, but it didn't give me 100% or very good representation of Side Effects. And probably that is the reason why. There was something about After Effects from FA Paris that I did enjoy, and I have since decluttered that particular one. However, when it comes to Tobacco 01, I think it is very well blended. That honey, tobacco, plum, sandalwood, mix is very beautiful. I don't find anything offensive. There's nothing in it that I hate. I think it is a very beautiful scent. I know it was like a lot of people had it, to market and sell it. But I think it's a very beautiful scent, I'm not hating this fragrance at all. I think it's a very beautiful scent. It deserves the hype, when it comes to that scent category, I think it's one of those dupes that were able to capture the whole side effect esque, vibe in a very beautiful way. So for that matter, I think this one really deserves the hype, although it was like an influencer sort of marketing. I think it still deserves the hype, and that is going to be my take on tobacco one. I think it's a very beautiful scent. So let me go to this particular one here. Exclusive Mirage from FA Paris. So FA Paris, I love their fragrances, but sometimes it is a miss for me, and I think Exclusive Mirage is a miss for me. It sort of puts me in a similar mind space as Phonetic Delicious by I think Maison Alhambra. Phonetic Delicious. It puts me in a similar mind space. I get that same coffee vibe, that same slightly lactonic vibe, that same fresh vibe. I get it's quite identical to me, but I much prefer Phonetic Delicious. There's something about Exclusive Mirage that I find off-putting, especially at a dry down. I get the individual notes, the coffee I enjoy, but when it gets to the dry down, mixed with that bit of freshness, there's something fresh about it that I don't like, and there's something also quite green about it, probably coming from the cardamom, the spicy green cardamom. I'm not a fan of the composition in general. I wouldn't buy a full-size bottle, it's quite different, it's quite different. I appreciate how it comes across, but I'm not such a fan of this one. It doesn't give me, I don't know where to place it, I don't know where to place it, whether I should place it as a very cozy, cuddly scent, or a sexy scent, or a fun scent. It's like a confusing one, the blend is what I think didn't really stand out, well, or probably was not done well in a way. There's something about it that I can't really figure out, but there's something about this Exclusive Mirage that I'm not a fan of. The dry down, that's fresh green thing with the coffee and the cardamom and the spice. To be fair to Exclusive Mirage, I don't think it was one of those overhyped ones. It got its hype, briefly, but I don't think it's something I would reach out for, or something I would personally recommend. This is a very macerated bottle, and I'm still getting that dry down that I'm not a fan of, and that is going to be my take on Exclusive Mirage. I think I'm not a fan of this one, and I would not personally recommend it. I would say go for Phonetic Delicious, which I have recommended to people, and people have even come to tell me they're also not a fan of Phonetic Delicious. Yeah, so it's some way, one person's poison is another man's meat, or one man's meat is another man's poison, as we say. And that is going to be my take on Exclusive Mirage. These are 5 very popular fragrances that were like blasts from the past and current times, and I wanted to let you know what I think about it, whether I like it or they were just, hyped up. And that is going to be my take on these particular fragrances. Let me know what you think in the comment section, whether you agree with me or not. I would like to know. And that is going to be it for today. And I hope this video found you well. So please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. And I hope to see you in my next one. Take care. Bye-bye.